From Vassar College, this is Conversations at the Salt Line with Wesley Dixon. On this episode, a conversation with Lisa Kudrow, Michael Patrick King, and Dan Bucatinsky.
Hey everyone, it's me, Wes, and welcome to another episode of Conversations at the Salt Line. Today is a unique episode because we have for the first time 3 guests. Let me introduce them to you. The first is our very own Lisa Kudrow, class of 85. A second is Michael Patrick King, who is not a Vassar grad, but a friend of the college.
I'm class of 2012. Do the math.
And our third special guest today is Dan Bucatinsky, class of 87.
Yep.
Thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having
all of us.
Welcome home for the two on the ends, and welcome to Vassar for the one in the middle.
I have to say, it doesn't disappoint. It's exactly on brand. It's
I was going to ask you what your impressions of Vassar were, both from your 2 friends, but also your couple hours on campus.
Well, my friends are both incredibly intelligent, but I always thought of Vassar as this mythical place of intelligence and creativity together. And I thought it would look like this, which was, beautiful. And it's spring and everything's green and the azaleas and the dogwoods are out. It looks like you would film Vassar for Vassar today.
And many people have filmed movies that are college-oriented movies here at Vassar.
Yeah.
So that's an apropos thing to say.
Lately, yeah.
Yes, 100%. I want you to pick up these 2 books in between the chair, Michael, because I just want to sort of let you experience what Vassar might have been for your friends when they were here.
Oh my God, is this their yearbooks?
It absolutely
Are
is.
they going to burst in flames when I open them like something out of Wicked?
Possibly.
I'm assuming the gold one would have to be Lisa's class.
That's absolutely true.
Because by the time Dan graduated, they stopped doing gold. It was considered gauche and expensive. Am I looking at this post-it of Lisa?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's not a post-it of her, but it's her actual picture.
She's serious.
I know.
She's a poetess
Yeah,
/ biologist. Yeah. She's looking down at a microscope wondering, what are those 2 molecules doing? One loves one and the other doesn't. What are you thinking?
What was I thinking? I liked those because they felt more observed as opposed to
Posed. Staged.
like me posing. But look at Mark Long.
She's doing what Dan did earlier.
Thoughtful.
I mean, you
Right
could
next to
not
me.
get further from Valerie Cherish in this photograph.
I think is that Michael Lang? Yeah, I did a play with him.
Oh, Lang, I thought it was.
Yeah, Mark Lang.
Lang.
Drama theater.
love
It's a
that.
big day for Mark Lang.
Yeah, Mark Lang, you're getting a lot of screen time.
That's a beautiful
Isn't
picture.
it beautiful?
Yeah.
I didn't know that Valerie was your middle name until
Yes.
I saw the picture, and I was
I
like,
know.
things come together.
Yeah, not the smartest thing I ever did,
I don't think it's a bad thing.
naming the character my middle name.
Please, I'm not paying you any attention.
I believe that it's the reason it's named, you can say whatever you want. I think Valerie's named your middle name is because so much of her is an essence inside of you
Yeah, well, there's
that
that.
is covered
Yeah,
and hidden in the middle.
this last season.
Yeah.
I love that.
Do you want to hold yourself
Yeah.
and weep?
Yeah,
Danny, I
look at your
cannot
other
wait
classmates.
to see.
Whereas Lisa
Look,
said, I
it's
liked this
black.
one because it was less posed
Yeah.
and more observed. You'll see me looking right at the
Oh
lens.
my God, Danny, you look so
Young.
adorable. I mean, look at the sweater on sweater. He has a sweater on sweater.
So
He has a V-neck and then a cardigan over it. Was it chilly?
It was chill that day. I
Danny,
had
you
just
look
gotten
adorable.
that cardigan from Argentina, where my parents are from. And I don't know why I would put a cardigan over another sweater. It must have been
you've
chilly.
always been avant-garde.
Everybody's in sweaters. It was a sweater day. But you look so...
Oh my God, Missy Burke. I had such a crush on Missy Burke. Boy, did I do her a favor by not dating her.
Well, because the sweaters alone are competing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was
There's
a,
not room
that
for both
sweater.
of you.
So...
He does. Oh, but the person I was going to tell you
Is this your
who...
senior year?
My senior year.
Yeah.
Baby.
The person who also is in your class, who did this podcast just a month ago, is someone whose name is Jennifer DeVere Brody. Do you remember that person?
Jen Brody?
Jen Brody.
Yeah.
She said you all did a senior cabaret together.
Yes, we did.
And
I was the MC.
She was just on the podcast 2 weeks ago.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
working at Stanford now as a professor, and she
wow,
just
I'm
published.
not.
She just published a book about Edmonia Lewis, the sculptor from the 19th century.
Yeah,
Sure.
I was about to, but I heard she was doing it. So.
Jennifer was going to do it. It's good you let her do it. Well, I know we can look at these books forever, but
haven't
I don't.
seen
But
this in
they'll be here
ages.
after we
You
finish.
can look at each other. I'll talk.
No, I'm
It's me,
looking.
Wes.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Thank
I
you.
was on the tennis team. I was just looking to see.
Was there a
Yes,
picture
you
of
There's a
were.
picture in there.
Of
I
you
think
looking
there is.
reflectively down at a ball?
I lost
But
all
look,
of my
I have
yearbooks.
the same jowls. So
This is
that's
the
not
funniest
new
thing
with
ever.
age. I'm happy to say.
Oh my lord!
Always
Look at this
happy.
picture. I lost all my yearbooks because that's a long story, but I
Okay,
lost
if we have
it
time,
a
we'll get
good
into
story?
it.
I'm
Man,
sure
we,
they're on microphone somewhere.
I was
Men's
trying to
tennis,
say.
we're
That's
getting
an age
closer.
we're getting close.
Women's tennis.
There you go.
Are you there?
Where am I?
Did you miss photo day for the tennis team?
Maybe. My glasses. Oh, that's me.
Let
I
me
think.
see. Let
We're
me
gonna,
see.
for those
Let me see
listening, we'll
athletically
be sure to
I
get
think
the
that's
photos
me.
on the video.
Yeah.
It is me, right?
Yeah.
That teeny head? I can't see.
She's adorable.
Oh my gosh!
That's adorable.
Like you all. Can I kindly request my book back, please, so that we can continue
Really?
our conversation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess.
But
we'll
I'm
have
gonna
time-
give it. I'm gonna leave it
These are the
here.
primitive versions of phones that people look at.
Right. People don't
during
know what yearbooks
conversations,
are who are,
right.
Yes.
who are
They're
listening.
the ancient version of an iPhone.
I know, it's true.
Well,
Hey,
I'm happy
kinda
you all
fun.
got to indulge me and yourselves
That was
in
sweet to see
revisiting
that.
your Vassar life. And of
Oh,
course, it's
see.
very fitting because, among other things, we're going to talk about the comeback. And it's easy to think about your Vassar comeback story when we look at where you all were when you were here at Vassar.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for participating in that. And of course, congratulations, first and foremost, on the success of the comeback. The final episode will air 2 days after this taping. I'm
Oh,
excited to see
yeah,
how it comes out. But it's been a fun thing to engage with as a first-time watcher. I didn't watch it in 2005. I was born, to be clear.
Yes.
But I didn't watch it then. I didn't watch it in 2015, 2014, but I watched it now, and it's so fun.
It's quite a, if I have to say, if you haven't seen The Comeback, what's the really interesting, magical backstory
Yeah.
is that Lisa and I went to HBO after our two big hits, I can say that, Sex and the City and Friends, and we did this new show that was so not what was on television that we got
Yeah.
canceled, which a lot of shows get canceled, but we were shocked.
Yeah.
Lisa wasn't, because she has a more grounded sense of what we did than I did.
No, I was shocked. I wasn't devastated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or she didn't own it, whereas I did.
That you
I
were
was like-
devastated.
I bought the shame of like, oh, it didn't
They don't like
work.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
We
did
got
something
confused.
wrong.
But
Yeah.
the magical part is that somehow the energy of the show carried for a very long time. And then 10
Yeah.
years later, HBO asked us to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, make no mistake, there was no streaming. So this is on the power of just DVD
Right.
and extras on the DVD and people who found the show, and it built an audience.
But it
Yeah.
also got, like, at first there were horrible reviews,
Yeah.
and they all, most of them, turned around and actually wrote revised reviews, which
Yeah.
doesn't happen a
It's
lot.
a really good exposure of critics. They see something back in the day, you could see 1 or 2 episodes, and they just made a decision.
Right.
And what I notice is that the people constantly decide that these people don't really know where they're going.
Right.
Like they don't want to let the show evolve.
They're not patient.
They don't assume that anybody's driving the car, that
Right.
it's just going to crash or be the same every
Right.
episode.
But
Right.
up until that moment, and literally that year,
In 2005, you mean?
2005,
Yeah.
HBO was known for the place where a show evolves. And I've heard Michael say about Sex and the City, when someone says, oh, I love Sex and the City, and you say,
You love Sex and the City season 4. People would always say to me, oh, I want you to do another Sex and the City. I love that. No, you don't like the 4th season.
Right.
The first 3 seasons evolved, and we found our identity.
Yeah.
The Comeback season 1 knew what it was doing,
Right.
but people
They
caught
weren't-
up to
they weren't
us
ready for
around
it, yeah.
Episode 6.
Yeah.
And that's when people started saying, wait a minute. But by then it was the what happens is you get branded.
Yeah. I have a question actually about HBO because as I was watching, I had the benefit of watching all at one time, 1, 2, and what I could see of 3. And I was curious how you all, as people who created and produced the show, thought about finding your creative home? Like, how did you decide? What are your thoughts about where you wanted this kind of project to live? Because I assume you had the idea before you knew where it was going to be in terms of where it was going to air or live. And so, what has it been like, both finding a creative home for this project, but also maintaining or sustaining like that relationship with where the show is?
Well, we thought we had found our creative home, the only home that would have accepted a show like this, right? There was no network.
Wait, weren't you exclusive to HBO?
Probably.
And it was such a
Oh,
fortuitous.
you were?
Maybe.
I don't know.
No, I don't think I
Oh,
did.
you
were
weren't?
not.
Oh.
You weren't, but
I was
you know,
coming off a show on HBO.
It felt like-
I
So
thought of
People
it as my
assume that
home.
was where your home was,
But
right?
the place that allows a creator, a creative vision or an artistic idea or a showrunner to try something that it has not been tread before.
Right.
At that time, and I have to say, even now, certainly at HBO Max, it is like one of the only places where you're not being squeezed into a box.
Right.
Well, we were completely not. No one knew what a box was for our show.
Right.
And they took a leap at first. They let us go.
Yeah.
Because the script, you've seen it.
Yeah.
So Lisa's hilarious, but that wasn't apparent in the script
Right.
because there are no jokes.
Right,
It's
right,
all
right.
Character.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, let's go. See what you guys gonna do.
Yeah,
And
we
did it
don't
ever
know. Let's
feel?
see it.
Did it ever feel, because there has been multiple seasons and many years, of course, spanning the whole project, did you ever feel like this home doesn't work anymore, the home has changed? I'm just curious what the relationship has been as the show has changed and as times have changed. Has it always felt like the right place to still keep
Yeah.
the comeback?
It's the right place.
That's a blessing.
You know, when it was canceled after the first season,
Yeah.
actually the day after the Emmys, and we lost.
We both lost.
Yeah.
And then we got the call that we're not doing a second season.
Right.
Which was cowardly.
Yes. And to me, it just felt like someone's made a mistake
Yeah.
because this show belongs there.
Right.
And someone's made a mistake.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything wrong. But then 10 years later, Dan was in proximity of Casey Bloys, who was co-running HBO.
Okay.
We were having
And Casey
breakfast.
had been there when
In
we
a less
did
power
season one.
structure.
Okay.
Yeah, right. He didn't have as much power.
Influence, yeah.
And we knew that the people there really liked the show a lot and were sad
Yeah.
it didn't go. And we'd been hearing, that was a mistake. That may have been a mistake.
Yeah.
And we started finding ourselves on all these lists of one of the best.
One and done. Oh,
No.
the opposite.
The opposite.
Like
One
undervalued
of the best 10
stock.
shows of the decade.
Best comedies of the decade.
Sopranos, The Comeback. I mean, it was
But,
very
but of course, after it had actually
way after.
aired, right? Exactly.
10 years
after
later.
it had been canceled,
Right.
years
it was
after.
sort of a delayed response, delayed gratification, all that.
Felt good.
No, not even delayed. It was not for them. It had always, for whoever's making these lists,
Sure.
it was in their mind whenever they're making lists
Yeah.
as, belonging in
Wow.
high regard.
It's incredible.
And Lisa said,
Yeah.
her whole thinking was someone made a mistake. And then we got a call 10 years later, and the phrase was, we made a mistake.
Things come full circle.
And it never felt like anywhere else. It's always been wonderful. And the whole first season was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was just the surprise of not going forward.
Yeah.
The creative experience has always been wonderful. The second season, we made all about HBO.
Yeah.
If Valerie's going to go
Yeah.
back to HBO, we
Right.
made it about, we
It
made
was a
them
character.
the story.
It's funny. I am a Housewives fan, so and have been for a long time. So when I saw season one, I actually thought, like, this show was, to your point about it being a mistake, people not recognizing the show, I sort of felt like the show was ahead of its time because, of course, as a Housewives fan, it was so funny to me to watch the show and see Kim Fields be someone who was auditioning for this show and to know in real life that she actually did go back to Housewives of Atlanta in 2015.
Oh, she did.
She did. So it was so interesting because I'm
So-
like,
but
you were
that's
talking about this story.
10 years
like,
later she
10 years
did.
later she did, but you were talking about that experience in 2005, right? And
Before
it-
there were Housewives.
Before there were Housewives,
Yeah.
right? And so it was such an interesting thing to watch because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, the show is actually sort of clairvoyance in a way in terms of its predictability for what is going to happen in the world. And
But
so,
Kim herself says in season 1, in episode
Yeah.
1, who would be so desperate that they would agree to do this show just to do a reality show?
Put their life on.
Who would put their life in front of the cameras? It's like, you, my friend.
this
Well,
is the thing.
And that was a written.
No, I don't.
No, it was a written line.
It
Every
was a
line
written
was a
line,
written
but,
line?
But she say, who's so desperate? Like, but because they were all auditioning for a sitcom.
Right. But they knew that alongside it would come the reality show.
But what she and Mary Lou Henner are discussing is, what I didn't know was that you've got to, once you get the sitcom, you've got to do
It's
the reality
required.
show. And
yeah.
Valerie didn't realize, oh, I don't get the reality show if I don't get the sitcom.
Right.
I mean, what you just said. It was written. Every single sentence of The Comeback was written. There was
Yeah.
no improvising
Yeah.
at all, and that's a shocker when you
Right,
see
of
Lisa's
course.
performance because it feels like it's in the
So
moment.
natural.
Well, that
Yeah.
camera style, I mean, also looks like it's in the moment.
I want to.
You
have
will
it.
not
I won't
have,
have
it.
it.
More people ask me
me.
about, well, I know you're 50-50 improv. I'm like, no. That is not existing. It is scripted to every breath. And the performance that Lisa gives, whether you want to hear this or not, close your ears, is so observed. It's so lived. It's so subtly, I mean, people think it's a big, larger than life character, but there's so much subtlety happening on the show, and there was from day one. And it's deeper than, you'll see.
And
at
I
the
think
end.
that's why people were so confused
Yeah.
by the first season.
They just weren't able to
Aside from the
access
fact
it.
they'd never seen a woman sacrifice herself for a brand yet, which is what now
Yeah.
is so common. But secondly, Lisa's performance and the production of The Comeback.
Right.
There's no music in The Comeback until the end song. So we never told the audience, this is
How to
funny,
feel,
this is
right.
sad. And it becomes...
Right, there's no coaching
Right.
at all.
And the reason I think that younger people are
Drawn
getting
to the
it
show, yeah.
is because they're more sophisticated. They're used to television where they get to be sort of interactive with it.
In relationship with
Yeah, they
the show and
decide.
the story. Yeah.
It's the television really progressed to the point where people were able to choose for themselves whether somebody was comic or tragic, or in this case, both. And Lisa never indicated anything. So people would look at it and go, is this real? Is this, it's comic and sad?
Right.
It just was beyond, and the cringe television wasn't even formed yet. Then that phrase didn't exist.
Right.
But I didn't even think it was cringe. I didn't understand. You did?
No,
I didn't
I
either.
understood when they started saying it. That's like bullshit. Cringe.
Well, but it was for them. That was their experience because it's like, I realized it's sort of any art. I'm not trying to elevate what we've done, but any art, it whatever the intention of the artist, the viewer is experiencing something about themselves,
Yeah, through their own lens,
through their
right.
own perspective.
Absolutely.
So I think there's a lot of people who would know, like, why is she talking? Oh my God, I can't bear it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
even I know she should keep her mouth shut right now.
Right.
And when I watch it now, and to us that was funny. We weren't questioning whether or not she should keep her mouth
Right,
shut. She
right.
should keep her mouth shut. But now, 2 years later, how terrible. She had to keep her mouth
mouth
shut.
shut,
I mean,
yeah.
she was never rude.
No.
And she was never dismissive or insulting, right?
No.
No.
But we knew back then it's a
That was-
time capsule,
Valerie
like all
Cherish.
entertainment is,
Right.
right?
Of course.
Valerie Cherish was an original. No one had ever seen her before.
Right.
And that's always trouble
Yeah.
when something's an original.
Ruffle some feathers.
It's a trouble because you don't know what it is, and then when you get to know her, you can't get enough of her. But
Absolutely.
we finally got a chance for people to see her,
Yeah.
and especially this season. People keep saying, "I'm seeing." It's like Valerie, but it's a
More
different
mature.
Valerie. It's
Yeah.
she's. I don't know. She's breathing
But
more.
yeah, but that's what I meant, as you know, when I said sort of patience earlier, right? Because you have to sort of give not just the show, but in my mind, life. Like friendships, relationships, situations. You have to give them time to sort of mature, to see what they really might be for you or not be for you, right? But it sounds like, to your point, the audience has given the show and given themselves patience to be able to like evolve with Valerie.
It's one of the gifts of having, by inadvertently having been given the gift of
time.
22 years
Right.
to
Yeah.
explore an individual who has so many contradictory qualities. She's unbelievably kind, unbelievably giving and generous, and an ability to pivot. I've always thought of Valerie Cherish as a heroic, somebody who is able to bounce back from setbacks, unlike, which you need, certainly in our business, but you need living on this planet, the ability to get up off the floor when something happens to you. And she does it, and you know, it's hard to watch because you don't know whether you could do it if you were in those situations. But she's going to be just fine. And I don't know, I find I'm always very moved by how resilient and like, don't let anything push you down without saying it. She's the living embodiment of that.
I mean, she's also the contrast to everything you said. She's lovely, generous, but then self-centered. She's strong and fragile. I mean, she's the most human character, which is what was so fun when we came up with the idea of AI, Valerie against the machine, like this human being against this machine that we're all afraid of.
But Lisa, I heard you, I almost called you Valerie. Lisa, I heard you say recently that you have recently come to love Valerie as a character, which of course speaks to this sort of patience and time and sort of evolution. And I'm just curious if, and we talked earlier about sort of your middle name being Valerie, and as Michael said, actually so much of Valerie in the show really is also inherent to who you are, Lisa, as a person. That was his argument or his comment.
Well, I said she's in there, hidden.
Right, but present, maybe not in a cognizant way.
Sure.
And so I'm curious, actually, if your relationship with Valerie, the character, also reflects on your relationship with yourself as a person. If there were moments where you have, over time, come to love yourself more in a place where you actually might not have previously.
Right. I mean, yeah, hopefully a warm feeling for yourself grows as you get older. But I feel like I was... I was less like Valerie first season.
Okay.
Honestly, because I was not looking for the spotlight for the sake of the spotlight. That's not why I became an actress.
Right.
I thought it was fun to be someone else for a while, right?
Just fun to be someone else.
It is. I think it is.
Escapist.
I loved being Phoebe, and I started off making fun of her. And, over the course of 10 years, I started to have some respect for her and was going to miss her when I was done being her. And the same for Valerie. I mean, that was the big thing for this season, because we started off making fun of her, just laughing at, like, oh
You
my
mean
God.
season 1?
Season 1, yeah.
Right.
And season 2, she was 10 years older, and it's a different environment. Same, abusive writer who's slightly better to her. But now she has to pay attention to her husband and her marriage, and not just her career. And but you see her stand up for herself and get angry and take care of herself a little better. And then at the end, Michael's inspired idea that she walks away from the reality cameras. Yeah. I mean, we knew she was going to leave the Emmys.
Right.
And then Michael realized, but then is she walking away from the reality cameras?
There's no
If she
camera to
leaves them
capture that.
behind?
Right.
Like, that made me nervous, but
Yeah.
it was great.
It was so risky, and I was so inspired by talk about a big swing. It was a really risky thing to do, to create a show. The very premise of the show is that you're looking at the raw footage of a reality cameras, and the final episode of the second season is this departure in every way, and it was such a win at the end.
And the big win, really, is that sometimes an impulse comes in. It's almost a whisper. It comes in, and you don't expect it. And you say it quietly, because then Lisa reacts, oh, my God, we can't, can we? But, I mean, that's the most fun thing about The Comeback is the amount of whispering we listen to
Yeah.
from somewhere
From wherever.
from
Yes.
ourselves. I listen to her whispering.
Yeah.
She listens to me. We hand the scripts to Dan. He whispers back what he feels.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's all impulse.
Yeah.
It isn't a machine.
Right.
And it's people and something else, creative thoughts flying in and people following them. And I will say, as far as Valerie, Lisa, Valerie,
Right.
there's more Lisa, her sort of philosophy. They sort of have come a little
they've
bit together
converged.
in the third season. There's advanced thinking, which we won't talk about because it involves the epilogue of the show. But there's advanced thinking that Valerie says that is very much how Lisa has grown to think about life. And that's important and exciting. And when we hear it, we know. And we had such a hard time filming the last scene where Valerie talks to the camera. And it was on the last night. And that has a lot of emotional weight as well. But at one point, we were like, why is this so hard?
Because it's so real.
And I actually had a thought. It feels like you're here too.
Right.
Yeah, that
And
is
Lisa
why.
kept hitting it away because Valerie has never been Lisa.
Right. I'm happy you got here because I do actually want to spend a lot of time not only talking about the show and sort of the plot of the show, but actually sort of this creative relational apparatus that you all have. Because I think, to your very point, Michael, I think that is where the magic happens, right? Is that you are like hearing the whispers, having the inputs, having sort of the unseeable but very present sort of continuity of some sort of dynamic that then creates something that is just so beautiful. So I want to focus on that for a little bit. But before that, what came to mind as you were talking, Lisa, about sort of season 2 and Valerie sort of standing up, for herself in a variety of ways, right? When I watched it, I had this very visceral feeling of like a theme of self-advocacy coming through at least the first 2 seasons, right? And I picked it up in a couple of ways, particularly the sort of line that I'm sure was a joke, but I need to know that I'm being heard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But it came in so many ways, and then in other sort of less funny ways, there are actual plot lines that are about self-advocacy in so many ways. And so it made me curious to ask you all as individuals, sort of in your life, what is your first memory of when you had to advocate for yourself?
I have a clear one.
Yeah, go.
Well, hold on.
ahead.
Before you speak, let's give people 10 seconds so they can sort of really think about what their thought might be.
No, I don't.
You
I
don't
don't
have
know. I
one?
mean, professionally or not?
No, in your
professionally?
life in general, like just,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
yeah, you have one, yeah.
Not one.
Oh, you have many, but your first memory is what I want. Your first memory of really having to advocate for yourself. Okay, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah.
Mine's tied to show business. It'll tell you how long it took me to advocate for myself. I did a show in New York that I sort of wrote with a group of people, and a studio was going to do a television pilot of it. And I was taken to lunch by the studio executive who said, "You will never write this show. They will never hire you to write this show. You're not a television writer. You're not going to write this show." And I said, "I'm out." And I left because I said I did write this show. And it was the first time I didn't posture anything. It was the first time I actually felt strongly I was coming from a truth, not from a will, but actually it was like a roar without being loud of like, this is wrong for me. I'm removing myself. This is a wrong interpretation of the world. And I don't belong here. And I removed myself, and then the whole project fell apart. And I don't regret it, but what
Absolutely not,
the
but-
big story is, it was the first time someone was telling me I wasn't something.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I knew I was something.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Who wants to go next?
I will, because I'm sorry, I'm going to twist it a little bit.
Please.
In that, I think more important than advocating for yourself out loud is advocating for yourself to yourself.
Which is what Michael just, right. Yeah.
What? Oh.
Well,
More or less.
his example speaks to
Oh,
that.
right, and he
very-
didn't say anything. He just
right, he just left. Right, because he knew that was not the right space for him.
Right. Yes. But okay, so mine is from preschool. I think I was 3 or 4.
Wow, that's sweet.
Well, and it was a rainy day, so us children in the nursery school, the cook brought lunch in, and the little girl next to me said really loud, we're both two white little girls, and the cook is a black woman. And the little girl next to me went, "A black cook?" And I turned to her wondering, what on earth does that mean?
Right.
I don't know what that means. Why is it a question? I don't understand. And the cook turned, my friend bolted, and she zeroed in on me, thinking I'm the one who said it. And she came over and started, sort of angrily saying, "What do you mean a black cook? Of course a cook can be black." And all I can think is, oh, she's certain I said it, but I didn't say it. Right. And, I'm not going to change her mind. There's nothing I can say. And I know I won't even be able to make an argument clearly because I'm 3 and have only just learned to speak, really, because it took me a long time. And I thought, that's what this world is. You can be misunderstood and there's no recourse. There's nothing you can do. And it didn't make me panic. It was just, that's good information to have, and you will know the truth. Wow. Even though I would love for this woman to know I didn't say it.
Think differently of you, yeah, but.
But that was crazy good early on, just understanding, okay, there's something unfair about it, but that's just the way it's going to be. Okay. So to me, that's advocating.
No, I understand. Yeah, you're coming to terms with something.
To yourself. Just Sometimes you have to be satisfied with what you know to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very you.
Well, yeah.
I'm still waiting. I have yet to advocate for myself. So I'm hoping that after this conversation, I might. No, I feel like when I think back to childhood, I felt misunderstood and out of place from a very early age. Like and I think the gayness of a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old, or knowing that I don't quite,
you don't fit in.
There's something I need to cover for.
That early.
There's something I need to cover for, because even as a 5-year-old, I have a consciousness of attraction to boys or feeling like it shouldn't be said ever. So the need to cover was something that motivated me always. In addition to that was a constant wanting to tell someone in authority to make sure that I was going to be okay. I would get beaten up a lot at the bus stop, and teased a lot for whatever. I remember I fought back with my clarinet case. I mean, the fact that I brought my clarinet case to school, I would beat that kid up too now, but I would tell somebody, and I got pushed around, and my father said, "Go back and fight him." And I turned to my dad, and I was like, I am never going to fight him. And it was like a fact. Like, I cannot fight that guy. And I remember like disappointing my dad and feeling like I was disappointing him, but it was like the first memory I have of saying to someone, there's no part of me that can be that person. Right. And so that's like a memory of just like, I need to, if I had the words, I would have been like, I need to know that I'm being heard. But I wouldn't have said that. But later in life, even in show business, I often felt like I would have to go tell somebody, I hope this is okay, because this is the way it is, and I don't know whether this is going to work out or not. I had a lot of people when I first moved to LA who said to me, you're going to have to pick. You either want to be an actor or you want to be a writer, but you can't be both. Right. And we'll represent you. ICM, I had put on a sketch show. I had written it. I was performing in it. And they were like, we love the writing. We'll represent you, but only as a writer. And I was like, so I have to quit acting in order for you to represent me? And they were like, that's right. And I was like, that just doesn't seem right.
Right.
And then I didn't sign with them. Who knows what my career could have been if I had done that. Yeah. I'm an idiot. But the point is...
Listen, you're talking about getting bullied. I'll tell you the absolute opposite phrase of self-advocacy that I heard from my mother when I was getting bullied. This is the opposite of what... Now I understand, but then it was like... Don't let them know that it bothers you. That is the opposite of self-advocacy. Yeah. And I understand she was trying to protect me on her way, but it was that was definitely not advocate for yourself.
Protect yourself.
Protect yourself
in some way.
Or
in thinking about
That's the best I can do to protect you.
well, right.
You're
right.
still going to feel it, but I can feel
as a
better
kid-
about
She's hoping because sometimes you fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
If you
It
let
doesn't
them know
bother you,
how,
it doesn't
Right.
bother
Then
you.
you
that
try
is
to
some
hit
truth
target.
to that.
Yeah,
It always
100%.
bothers you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right.
I want to get back to this creative sort of engine that these relationships have created. And Michael, I think I heard you say, in response to or in reaction to people asking why a third season happened, that you sort of said actually, it's kind of inexplicable. It's a sort of inexplicable, just like need and reason just to bring it back. And that made me not think about necessarily the show, but maybe think about like if the inexplicability of it was that you and Lisa and Dan have just had this sort of emotional ecosystem, this creative emotional ecosystem that you're sort of just pulled to, right? You're sort of just drawn to sort of continue to sort of feed that, be in that, and just like make something of this long-term, present, creative synergy. How would you react to my assumption of
I
of
would
that?
say, with all due respect,
Yeah,
it's completely wrong.
I love that. That's
Because
why we're here.
if we just wanted to get together and work together, we
Yeah.
wouldn't have waited 11 years.
Okay.
It wasn't enough. We all missed each other. We all missed Valerie
Yeah.
enormously.
Yeah.
But the only reason we came back, and for 10 years we would have meetings where we would kind of have lunch and be social, and then the last 20 minutes talk about where would Valerie be? And none of the ideas, as funny as they were,
Yeah.
were strong enough to build a season on that could top what we considered a very successful second season.
Yeah.
So it wasn't our need to work together. That was always being absent. We always wanted to do it, but Danny would be like, anything? And we'd be like, not yet.
Yeah.
And then right before we did this season, we came up with the idea. Lisa was saying, too bad we weren't around when the SAG writer's strike happened,
Right.
because Valerie would have been so performative and funny. And that opened the door to thinking, why do we have to be in the present? Maybe we can go back 3 years and start there.
Yeah.
And then the idea was 3 years later, at the end of the strike, they just kept saying we're going to have to renegotiate in 3 years because of AI. And once that idea entered, she has such a respect for the work we did. I think Danny and I would have probably done a season about Valerie going to get froyo. Because we knew we could make something out of it
Yeah.
that was funny.
Right.
But Lisa was I'm not bringing her out unless we have the right machine.
And
And
as
then the
somebody,
machine was the machine,
yeah.
right?
Yes. No. I mean, we ended with such a big idea because people were saying she became a
real person.
A real person
At the
It's
end
like
of season
Pinocchio.
2.
She became a real person.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I thought, okay, it's the stakes are getting bigger, so this needs to be. And then look, he's not saying it, but we're at lunch, and when he says, "Okay," I was thinking, what about this? She's finally offered a leading role in a multi-camera sitcom, which is her dream. But it's written by AI. It's the first sitcom written by AI. And I just went, yes, because you start seeing parts of
comes.
your brain
Yeah.
start opening up, all these other areas going, that, yeah, million things, million
I mean,
things.
that's really the truth is, it really is about the idea.
Yeah.
Because you could spin all your wheels in the world, and if you don't have something that's going to get you, you're just putting icing on a cake.
Right.
You don't have a cake.
But this partnership, the two of them, I've known Michael since even before I met Lisa, and creatively, and I've known Lisa. I mean, we have individual relationships,
Right.
but to watch what happens when these two people, and they're not similar. I mean, Lisa and Michael are not similar creative entities. Like, what's so interesting about them is like these planets that orbit, and when they lock in to an idea, the thing that happens creatively for them to write together, a thing that's going to have stakes and comedy and reality and weight, it's exactly what they're saying. Of course, you could do a whole. I could imagine her doing a TED Talk, and it would be fucking amazing.
That's a good idea.
Her in Bridgerton, or her with Olivia Colman. I mean, there's all these.
This is a pitch, by the way.
By the
I
way.
love it.
No. My point is, but
no,
as Michael points out to me, I was like, these are great ideas for an episode or a flashback, or what's going to carry us
A whole,
with
yes.
weight. It's the difference between, well, never mind. But my point is, when the two of them came up with this idea and the two of them lock in, same thing season 2, when they lock in with an idea, the sum of the two of them working together is the most exciting thing to watch,
To witness.
from the outside. But it's really remarkable. And they're both become this incredible creative force together, and it's like the perfect example of collaboration.
Yeah, but I do have to say, this was Michael's idea. He had the spark for this. That was, yes.
But it
And then
came
we
off
got
her
together
saying,
and
"What
fleshed
about
it
the
out,
SAG
yeah.
strike?"
Yeah.
If she hadn't said that, I wouldn't.
Well,
The door
that's
wouldn't
the
have opened.
creative process.
Well,
I
of
mean,
course,
that's every
right,
process.
That's the point of the creative collaboration, right? Is that it's never a single sort of incident or a single word. It's sort of the experience collectively that you all create together. Is what
And
makes
why
these
a
things
writer's
happen.
room is so important too, or a group of people figuring out a problem
Yeah.
is so important, because someone says one thing and it makes all these connections.
Yeah, bad pitches become good pitches. A bad pitch could be like, that's a terrible idea, but it made me think of this.
something else.
Yeah.
And all in every writer's room sometimes. The
And this season is very, I think it's really layered and complicated and funny, which is the great news.
Right.
But I said to Lisa at one point, I don't remember writing it. I remember you showing up and we started. And I remember a couple of rough days where we're like, how are we going to get this? How many episodes? But it almost feels like I don't remember the building of it.
What do you attribute that to?
Being lost in it, following a wave, following her rhythm, like if she says something and I think, well, we can't do that, but we could do, like being bigger than us. That doesn't mean that I'm not saying spirit writing or anything like that. I'm just saying it was so much that it was always firing, and I remember pulling our hair, literally both of us pulling our hair out.
Yeah.
I remember both of us laughing so hard we had to put our heads on the table. But I don't remember any difficulty. That's, I think, why I say I don't remember the writing of it. I don't remember the difficulty. But my father drank, so who knows? Maybe it was awful, and I've just sped over it.
I love that.
What do you remember?
I remember being worried that it was not the flow of first season, and forgetting that second season was the same way. But we had other writers with us.
Right.
This was just the two of us writing this, because it was the last.
It did get in.
Yeah.
The idea of topping it. It's that awful thing that gets in your head when you're
And
creating something
the
like, you
people who
better do
love-
better than the last one.
Of course.
Yes,
That-
especially because the people who love this show know it. Like people who love shows, or and they know it. They've watched it over and over, and they know it. And we really want to do right by them. But mostly when we're working, we're not thinking about anybody but living in the space of this.
And the
So it would creep in, and sometimes it was just like, I don't know. It just felt like, where's the flow? Oh my God, we're not doing it. But no.
I never felt that.
Yeah.
I never felt that. And I felt that on a million other shows.
But not for this.
Not this.
I
And
love that.
so I was the one who didn't feel that, and Lisa was the one who did, I
Well,
guess.
that's the complementarity of you too, right?
Yeah.
As Dan was saying earlier, right? It's sort of the different creative processes or impulses or whatever that collectively work to make it work in the end.
But
Yeah.
the tide, we for years since season 2, people are like, is there going to be a third season of The Comeback? I mean, it gets asked in every time I was doing press for a different show, it would always come up.
Right.
And there is a little bit of momentum and pressure when you know that your die-hard fans are so rabid for more.
Dan was like a shaman. Dan was like a constant prayer shaman, projecting energy, leaving us alone for 2 years at a time, and then coming in with the sage and going, what's going to happen? How are we going to do it? Weren't you?
Yeah, well, just because
Beating a drum very slowly, constantly.
I certainly
But
wanted
consistently,
it.
right.
He had a feeling it needed to happen.
And
we
people
were waiting.
and other people would come in, and you'd be like, you never know. We'd always say, you never know, and then you'd be like, yeah, this has to happen. It has to. I'm like, it has to happen.
I wanna about these relationships. I have questions for each of you,
Okay.
but about the other,
Oh.
because I really want to hear how you reflect on the relationships and the personalities and the individuals over the course of time. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah,
So I'm
it's
gonna ask you
exciting.
a question about someone who's not you, and I want to hear your answer about that. Okay,
Great.
perfect.
I'll figure it out.
You're
as
gonna
we
figure
go.
it
I
out.
don't
You're
know
very
what
smart.
You just said. Yeah.
Michael, you're the first one.
Okay.
Great.
So the question for you is, what has Lisa become more fearless about over the last 20 years?
Lisa has never been afraid of her talent that I've ever seen. She's never been afraid of acting. I think she is less fearless about what other people could ever think about a product. I think she really has taught me that that has nothing to do with what we're doing.
I'm less fearless about.
Yeah, I don't think you have any fear at all
Oh, okay.
of what other people think,
Okay.
which is a giant difference.
I'm more
between,
fearless.
Yeah.
Oh, fearless,
Yeah,
or more fearless.
Yeah.
So is that the question?
Yeah.
I think she has no fear of what other people think. And over the last 20 years, it's just become stronger and stronger and stronger. Maybe it wasn't a thought. Now it's almost a reality.
Right. It was a
Yeah, how do you react to that?
delusion. Fake it till you make it. That became somewhat of a reality. I mean, yes, I wouldn't be anxious
you
about.
knew you should not care. It was an
Yeah.
intellectual thing for you. You knew you shouldn't
It didn't
care.
serve me. It didn't matter. It
Right.
wasn't real.
Right.
Like, of course, some people are going to hate
Yeah.
me and hate what I do
Right.
and the way I do it or anything I'm in or
Right.
this show. Like, yes, that can't get in the way.
I mean, just the phrase, of course, some people.
But
That's like a big thought for a lot of people. Of
It
course,
is?
like to accept that, of course, people are going to not like you.
that slows my heartbeat, actually. Of course.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like you said, your childhood story, right? You learned
Yes.
at a young age.
The
like,
first time I learned, yeah.
Right.
But had to keep
But you had
learning
to keep
it.
reminding yourself that and practicing it in real life. It's, again, it's one thing for it to be an intellectual project. It's something else for it to be something you use as an actual tool to
Yeah.
help you get through life in the world. Is to
Right.
know it and to use it.
Look, I first acting class was an improv class, like a low stakes improv class. I went to one class and thought, "Oh no, this is really embarrassing. I cannot do this," and almost quit. So yeah, I mean,
you have to relearn it, remind
you have
yourself,
to
practice
relearn.
using it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I mean, the interesting thing is the pause before I answered, because I don't think of Lisa, and even I got lost in the double negative. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
think of Lisa as somebody who has fear,
Yeah.
except of the world.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
somatize
there's some
anxiety
reason to
over
be
it.
nervous about the
Right.
world. Dan, I'm going to go to you next. And you actually, again, in this sort of shaman, clairvoyant way that that Michael intimated earlier, you kind of actually, believe it or not, answered this question. I'm going to ask it explicitly just so we can see if you have other thoughts about it. The question is, what emotional shorthand exists between these two that didn't exist 20 years ago?
Emotional shorthand. Well, I think what I was able to witness in the writing of being on the outs. Well, season one had a writer's room of a lot of. There was a bigger group, let's say, who was sort of coming up with what season one of The Comeback would be.
Sure.
After they initially were coming up with the pilot. And then season two was its own animal. What I've witnessed recently in the experience that they had writing these 8 together, that boot camp, that experience, that going away into that tent and doing whatever it had to be, fighting through, pulling their hair out, laughing their asses off. When we got on set, watching Lisa have to shift gears from creator, writer to actress, and Michael from writer, creator to director, and look at Lisa and Lisa look at him, there was many shorthands, whether it was a look, whether it was a being able to tell each other in the moment, like, all right, you know what, put the pen down for 1 second, okay, and this is what it's going to be. Just the way in which, in a familial, part of it could be just time, but I think something happened in the fact that there were no other writers and the two of them experienced the breaking of these 8 together, and knowing it was the end, what they experienced together in doing that allowed them to become different creative when they had to change hats and be their other roles on set. I saw the two of them collaborate in a new way that I thought was thrilling.
How do you react to that, both of you?
It's so great.
Yeah.
Because all I remember is just being present.
Yeah. But that, to me, I mean, I would have disagreed with the premise of the question that there was a shorthand that changed or grew
Right.
over 20 years when, honestly, the first time, and we were acquaintances and toward friends. Yeah, we were friends whose agent said, hey, you're both done with your shows, go
do something
have a
together.
meeting.
Right.
And so, yeah, and we were just chit-chatting, but that lunch turned into 3 hours or more of fleshing out this show. And me knowing he's a showrunner and he's written a million things.
Right.
I wrote sketches at the Groundlings and said, okay, this is a show.
Yeah.
And we were in sync instantaneously. He got it. We were it felt like we were occupying the same creative space. Like our brains were communicating, you know, in another realm.
Yeah.
And then with a different skill.
Right.
She has a different skill. I have
Right.
a
The
different skill.
the complementarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But writing it was, what about, and then this, yes, and then of course this, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
And it was just the next time we met, Michael, we were talking, that was exciting, and then Michael would say, okay, I think we have the pilot. I think we're ready to pitch after 2 meetings.
Yeah.
So to me, that was
it already existed in
immediate.
your mind. Yeah. But it's nice that someone external from that dyad has been able to see something about it that maybe they couldn't see
Right.
from that first season, right? It sounds like
Yes.
for Dan, like it became much more obvious to you the magic of their complementarity only as this sort of third season came, or the production of it came
But also
to be.
because it was the first time Michael directed all the episodes. So he did shift, because the second season he directed some,
Right.
had to, you know, be very present for the others directing
Yeah.
and be writing. Because this was the first time that we had to be, and we're done writing,
Right.
basically,
Yeah.
when we started shooting.
Yeah. Go
But
ahead.
Michael's also very adept, and has in your whole career, to writing something and then directing the thing that you write. I mean, the act of writing as a writer is directing in your head. That's
Right.
why so many writer-directors, I mean, that's the purest form of it. Lisa, the only time I've seen you really struggle ever, and it was all self-generated because you were totally bringing it, like when you would question yourself,
Yeah.
would be when the writer's brain would be working and you're like, I have to play her now, like I can't be in my writer's head. I'm like, well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm in the scene with you, and I feel like I'm in the scene with Valerie Cherish. I don't see the writer. You may feel her, you may be worried that she's knocking on the door. I don't see it. But the point is, Lisa had many more hats this time than probably more in a more visceral way this season than ever before, and you donned them and took them off.
Yeah. Well,
Mrs. Hats.
you're not, yeah.
Mrs. Hats.
Mrs. Hats.
Mrs. Hats.
You were Mrs. Hat all season.
But also, you know, things are different in shooting. There's just a technical thing now. You're not just in your trailer waiting
Right.
to go to set. There are the cast green rooms, or like hangout rooms. So a cast is brought to set so that they are there
Right. And ready to go whenever.
and ready to go, which is kind of fun because you're with the other actors and you can
Right.
bond and all of that. And also, it's also distracting, or it's just energy because,
You're on and away. because
kind of
you're-
on.
yeah,
And it's
I
my
understand.
show and
Yeah.
hosting a party.
And,
And I'm-
on some days, Lisa had 9 pages of dialogue, and that doesn't seem like a lot, but movies do 2 pages a day.
Right.
And I would feel bad going into another room so that I could just learn the lines and I'm
Right.
not with them.
I hear you.
Because you're also very grateful to everybody who's there.
Right.
And you really want
You
them
want
to
to demonstrate
know
gratefulness. Right,
that you're
exactly.
so
It's also
grateful.
you're hosting
Yeah.
a party. Everyone,
Right, you're
like,
on, you're- yeah,
this
you-
season was a
yes.
party. It felt like a giant party filming it. There was a lot of actors. We did a lot of scenes where everybody was there.
Right.
Everyone was working, doing the sitcom taping within the show. So it was every place you looked, there was something that could catch your eye.
And also this season, because, so there were a lot of actors that are known and some that aren't, but are real fans of the show. Second
Right.
season, not
They're-
everyone
they're
on it knew
distracted
the
too.
show. But this season,
I
if
understand.
they were fans of the show and fans of Valerie.
Yeah.
Like, I'd come in with the wig, and I'm friends. Abby Jacobson and I are friends, and oh my God,
Yeah.
meeting Valerie. This is
Yeah, it was
like
so
people were.
But I know you, Abby. Like we're regular people, but I get it. It takes on a life of its own in that.
It does.
In that
the
way.
does.
character
Yeah, the
became
character
a
and the
real
story.
person
Yes,
that
absolutely.
is known to them,
Yes.
and oh my God,
Yeah.
this is I'm meeting Valerie right now. Yeah, so that was kind of thrilling and
Yeah.
something that Valerie wouldn't really experience
Right.
as much, So
Now,
yeah.
Lisa, it's your turn for a question about one of your.
Oh, I
friends
thought
and
if I kept
colleagues.
talking, you
No.
would
I
ask
wouldn't get.
me.
Oh no.
He's not letting you get
I'm
away
not
with
letting
it.
you go. No. Hard cookie here.
All right.
So the question is, what quality in Dan became more important to you over time?
Ooh. Which one? There's a lot of them.
You don't get to speak yet.
I was going to excuse myself.
You were going to leave the room. No, there's a lot of them. And it's Dan not seeing himself clearly, appreciating himself. And it goes back to his original advocacy. But he will when pushed hard. But Dan is so bright, so funny, so smart, cool. I'm just like saying words that all mean the same thing now. Like quick-witted, smart, great troubleshooter, problem solver, listener, compassionate, empathetic, and not enough with himself, honestly, which I think you know a bit.
I see.
And I don't know. I mean, but I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing Dan become that person who,
For himself, you
for
mean?
himself, so much more. And producing things that are really impressive. And he, well, like, it's this little movie that, we're doing. And, I'll be in it. And it's good. Yeah, and it's a pilot I wrote, and we're gonna. It's nothing. He's always like, no story here. Look away. Look away. Look away. Not that, but I don't know what the alternative is. To say, so I'm so excited. I'm doing this pilot, and
Yeah.
but I don't know.
He's owning his greatness now.
He is. And quietly, which I guess is like, how else do you do it? But yeah. But yes, I mean, I don't know. It was just thank God for Dan, is all I have to say. And I think it would be really great if Dan could just have this secret, because it's a secret that you have with yourself. And the secret that you don't tell anybody is thank God for me.
Dan?
That's very sweet.
Are you going to cry?
Well, it's I cried at the drop of a hat. But
He cries at the drop of a
but-
character, a character revelation.
I cry very easily. But I appreciate that, and it's true. I'm for fear of ever coming off like Valerie Cherish or being Valerie Cherish, and to have played a character on the show who quite literally becomes who she was 20 years ago. I've thought so much about this, like the progress that Valerie has made in this series is not progress that Billy has made. Billy will become, someone asked me recently, where will Billy be in 10 years? And I was like, oh my God. He will marry some guy who does really well financially, and he'll probably be a real estate agent on $1 Million Listing, because that will be his. I mean, it was so clear to me. That's not who I am as a person. And am I an actor? Yes. Do I like attention? Of course. But I value these two people so much and want to be held in high esteem, and am worried about how I come off all the time. These are things from my childhood that stay with me, and with them in particular, and Lisa, who's been like family to me for 30 years, and there's an enormous amount of respect and fear of loss and fear of loss of, like I really appreciate that, and I certainly will take that with me, and will try to keep that to myself.
Dan has a quality that I think is very hard to come back Freudian, to come to if you've had a life in show business. Anyone who's been over 20 years in this business. Right. Dan has this very rare quality that is so important, where he risks enthusiasm. The idea to risk enthusiasm after you know what the chances are, but to still be there going, this is going to be great. That it's a very valuable rocket fuel for a project. And he has that. He risks enthusiasm for not just him, and Elisa's saying for himself more, but for everything that he is involved in.
Yeah. Well, when it goes away, I'm over. I'm done. So hopefully.
No, you've got a lot of great things in the pipeline. I mean, yeah.
They either it will or won't be entertainment. That's why we were is or isn't entertainment for 20 years. It either will work out or it won't. But one of the greatest things that I've learned recently is about to be able to identify controllable variables versus uncontrollable variables. And what Lisa has taught me, and often does, is that a controllable variable is how you see yourself and how you allow yourself to walk through the planet amongst a million uncontrollable variables. Yeah. And Michael's right. I mean, for the most part, you get kicked in the head more than you don't in our business. Yeah. So to be able to get up and be like, more please, is almost childish and pathetic. And yet, without it,
you can't keep going.
You can't get up.
Right. Yeah. There's no reason to keep doing stuff if you don't have that. I have to say, it was so fun for me to observe you all have or indulge those questions, but watch you all react to what each other said about the other, because it's a privilege, first of all, to sort of be able to hear and be a witness to some meaningful long-term friendships in relationships. And also, whether you knew it or not, everyone was articulating the variety of things that went into the cauldron that make these kinds of things work, right? That come together, whether they're explicit or planned or not. But those things, those ingredients of having delusional optimism and just a willingness to risk enthusiasm, or the range of different things you all cited, are all necessary components for projects to thrive or life to be meaningful. And so I'm grateful that you all were able to see that in each other, but also share that with each other.
It was fun.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm happy you liked it. One thing on the other sort of end, which is it's not negative, but it's not as positive, is that the comeback for me also had some very, shall I say, loss-oriented themes, right? There were themes of things going away, or themes of impermanence, I should say, right? People pass away on the show and in real life. People are aging in real life and on the show. There's lack of relevancy that is talked about on the show. And so I guess for each of you, not on the show, but in real life and in Hollywood, I'm curious at both the longevity of your careers and also the longevity of this show. Does it make you more comfortable with endings, or does it make you more aware of endings?
That's a good question. I mean, there's everything about this business, it's so project-based that it's nothing but endings. It's nothing but introductions and goodbyes. You know, and sharing an intense project time together, and then a goodbye. That you get used to. You don't start feeling like, God, why didn't we become friends? Or, you know, I mean, the show Friends was,
Right.
that's 10 years, and it was life-altering.
Sure.
So there's a bond that will absolutely never go away. But, yeah, right? Isn't? What do you think? What are you thinking about?
It's a transitory. You fall in love and you have this site-specific family that you get new members in, and then you think, I don't know how we ever did the show without that person. And then you leave. And what I feel sad about is you cannot bring everybody with you all the time. So when you don't hire the same people on the next show because it doesn't work for whatever reason, I always feel like a breakup. There's almost like a little bit of a memory of the good times that we had. But it's very rare to be so deeply connected on one project that you don't miss the loss.
The end. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you don't miss the loss. But the other thing is, maybe I'm just somebody who goes, I need another idea. You know what I mean? That was great. What is next? So to me, I guess it would be the comparable thing to believing in heaven, you know, after death, that there's something else coming that's going to be also amazing. So after everything, I think, okay, what's the next thing going to be?
Yeah.
I'm a person who really can chase an idea and then build around it if I can. So I'm very comfortable with the fact that
Things
Lisa and I decided that this is it,
Yeah.
the finality of this, because we're both smart and know that what it took to wait for it to come in again.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with the finality of it. It's, what do we do next is what I think.
Can I ask, that's really helpful to hear, and I have a question about that mindset, which is, this is not what you said at all, but when you sort of said, I'm used to the ending, it's sort of transitory, I just go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
A very crass way, a crass analogy that I sort of had was the friend you have who always has to be in a relationship. You know, they're just like, they're not comfortable.
How dare you?
I don't know if that's, I don't know.
They get that nice
I
stuff
don't-
and I get
I
from
don't
you.
know. I
You
don't-
have to have a new show. I get it. You see me.
You're smart, you get it, and you know the spirit behind it. But
Yeah. Well, that's part of my cautionary tale about Valerie, by the way.
say more.
Me writing Valerie. The cautionary tale about Valerie that I've sort of tried to exercise is the need for the spotlight versus the personal. So, I mean, that is the thing that makes me write Valerie with such a glee horror movie, is that I am somebody who, up until certain points of my life, was like, if I'm not in the spotlight, I'm not seen.
Yeah.
So when you said
well,
the need for the next show,
well,
it's more of a creative idea for
Sure,
me.
and I didn't mean, of course, from a fame point of view, that actually wasn't what I was thinking about. But I was actually thinking about it more in terms of like the presence you have when you're in the thing, knowing that it's going to end, and knowing that something else is after that. That was more of my question.
I mean,
was
somebody
sort of,
asked me how I was after, like, are you calming down? Because we just did the whole season, really edited, went on a press tour. Somebody said to me, so are you able to relax? I'm like a monkey looking for the crack button still. You know, like, I'm so wired into the adrenaline that I really have to calm down. And what that is some sort of a thing that's bigger
Yeah, of course.
than you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
like a thing that's big.
But you're also good at trusting
Yeah.
that the next thing is there, and you'll get access to it when you do.
Yeah.
You just said maybe. Yeah, so
That's
okay,
you.
never mind what I
That's
just said.
Lisa rubbing off on me. Maybe.
Maybe. Well, no guarantees, but
Maybe.
Dan, let me
I don't trust in that. I mean, I'm someone who loves a family. I realize that so much of my attraction to even being show folk or a carny, like I call myself,
Oh my God.
is because
say
I love
carny?
a family. Like I have created. I mean, when I was on Scandal, I'm still very, very close with all those people, and
Yeah.
I could be on a project for a very short amount of time, and I'll be the one who's like, let's
get together.
Let's
Yeah.
figure out a way to. So it's a real loss for me when these things end. They naturally all end, some sooner than you'd hope. A lot of one-season shows I've been on, but when I'm in it, I fall in love very quickly, and the group family mentality is extremely important to me. So the loss that comes when it's over
It's more painful for you.
and I don't trust necessarily like the next thing will come and swoop around and as much as I should. That's a whole other thing. But it's interesting because I chase the relationships and I chase playing other people, but then being this surrogate family with my other players over and over again.
Lisa's looking at you.
What?
Well, you were looking at Dan still, so I was wondering
Yeah.
if you had thoughts about his reflection.
I don't. Did you have thoughts about his reflection? Of
No,
course, we're all
I
having
do.
thoughts.
No, I do. I do.
But
You can. Yeah, I do.
Sorry.
But you were
no,
looking.
I'm just
you were.
attacked you.
No.
Well, what about you? I'm not going to. I will not sit here and be the only one to be asked if I had thoughts about
You ask me
that.
whatever you
I have
wanna
no
ask
thoughts
me.
about Dan's reflection.
Right,
So don't come over
exactly.
here, Wes.
No, I'm thinking a million things. Everything he said
I
rings
know.
true for him. You know, I kept thinking, you maintain friendships, relationships better than anyone I know. And that takes effort. And when he said, yeah, you get so sad when the thing's over, I thought, probably because now here comes the effort. You're not going to see them every day, and you're going to want to stay in
Connected.
touch. And a lot of people just sort of like let it go.
Yeah.
And when you run into them somewhere, you know you have a connection. Hopefully you remember what it is.
Yes.
That's starting to happen now. But
Well, you worked with a lot
No,
of
but that's a
people.
much healthier. I mean, it's a much healthier. You know, you can't hang
well,
on.
I don't know. I don't know, but there's something to me that I really admire, and it's really nice that Dan makes sure he's maintaining those relationships because he wants to. It's not an obligation.
It's not a
Right, it's not
strategic
an
or
obligation.
transactional sort of thing. It's a
No,
real
yeah.
life source for you.
Yeah.
It sounds
To me,
like.
it's all woven into the work we did. It's like, ooh, the work. It's how we all work together. That's the thing that I feel is hard to continue thinking about without the work.
because I'm
So site specific.
I was gonna say I'm hypothesizing that's because for you the relationship is tied to sort of this production
Everybody's
of a thing,
best
right? We're
version
all-
of themselves while we do this thing.
Right. Have you just on you, Michael? How do you react to people who you then engage with outside of the project in which you have that memory of them, right? Like because if the thing and the relationship is so defined by the site specific experience you had, have you had trouble or not? You know, maintaining or keeping a relationship with someone when it's not in that
Yeah,
site.
it depends. It depends.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that you're just like, oh, I'm going to know you. I'll make sure I know you.
Yeah.
And then there are other people that you only have that, Atlantis that you were all on
Yeah.
that went away.
Wow.
Good way to put it, Atlantis. Yeah, that other made-up place. Not made up. I don't want to make anyone who believes there was an Atlantis feel bad.
It's such a vulnerable experience, though. I mean, talk about being naked in front of people. Like the act of being in a show, writing a show, bringing your soul onto a page or onto a stage is an intimate thing. And so that intimacy can lead to, of course, suddenly.
What I love about it is you lose yourself.
Yeah.
You completely, I'm not even aware of my body. He's naked. I'm completely just a brainstem.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like, what's happening? What are we doing?
Disassociation.
I'm just like in the thing. I'm aware.
He needs to be told it's time to eat now.
Yeah.
I'm just
That's how-
so
He's
involved.
he's present and not present in
Yeah.
a
I have
paradoxical
such
way. I got
a
it.
strong, self-conscious purpose.
Yeah.
Just like a doing. That's great. And it's impulsive.
Yeah.
Lisa talked about improv. The first time I did improv, I was trying to be an actor back in the day, and I was always so aware of me. the first time I did improv, I was like, I've been hit by lightning. This is what I do. This is it. Whatever this is, I'm not in control of it.
Yeah. It's on the point of vulnerability, and then we're going to pivot to our last segment. Much has been said about the comeback being whatever you want to say, a time capsule of media, of history, of society, all those kinds of things. And people have argued that whether explicitly or not, the show sort of is encapsulating the cultural anxieties of the moment, of that time. That does ring true to me. But my question in this sort of vulnerable category is, were those also personal anxieties? Like, it's one thing to say the show is encapsulating its own sort of broad royal we cultural anxieties, but as we talked about, there are people and there are groups of people who make the creative thing happen. And so I'm curious, in the spirit of vulnerability, if many of the anxieties said on the show or talked about on the show are things that you three or others on the team were viscerally feeling as you were writing.
Yes, you mean observing.
I don't mean
personally-
observing, actually. I actually mean that you
personally
felt.
feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
We had a day, I'll go first.
yeah, go ahead.
We had a day where we were in the room with somebody and they said, so what's the moral of the story?
Oh, yeah.
What are you telling writers? Because we were sort of talking about what we were writing. We were in the middle. They were like, well, what are you leaving the writers with? What's the moral of the story? Writers, AI, what are you saying for us? I said to Lisa for 2 days, we just looked at each other like, is that our job? And then we realized, oh no, what we do is report from the front lines
Here's
of where
the fear.
the media is. But that caused me great anxiety that people were looking to us
To answer this
to
huge question.
fix the moral of the story that we're actually in a moment of that we don't have the ending of. And one of the main things Lisa was very concerned about in the writing room is that we were not projecting a false sense of the world, of AI. Like, let's not put anything in we don't really know.
Right.
Let's not predict anything we don't really know. Let's just be in the moment.
Yeah.
That made me anxious for 2 days.
It's very helpful to hear. Well, Lisa, it's funny because what Michael said resonates with our lunch conversation about a whole different topic, but about knowing that every problem isn't yours to solve, right?
Right.
You have
Yeah.
to be very clear that someone else's anxiety isn't necessarily something that you have to attend to
Right.
or
Yeah.
address or
Right.
lessen. It's
Right.
very
Yeah.
resonant.
I think for us, the thing we had to just be aware of is that we're not being too gloom and doom for writers. It's over, forget it. And it looks like that. And, okay, that it's not that. And it's also not writers will prevail and, in TV. And that we're just saying it's serviceable.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's the end of jobs. And also reminding ourselves, if you look at season 1, reality TV, before it really came on, but we already knew studios weren't offering overall deals, development deals to writers as much. They were being a little more discerning about who they were going to give those to, cutting back. They weren't ordering as many 22 episode shows. And so, so you had, that was an extinction event writers were really afraid of. Right. And we weren't saying it's the end of writers. We were just showing very scared and angry writers.
Yeah.
Anxiety-filled world.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And a terrified network that's hedging their bets.
On this.
Because they don't know.
Right.
What's going to work, and so they'll do a sitcom, fine. But now it was for sexy singles that were in their 40s that the network said, make them turn it
younger.
into Friends,
Right.
But sexier,
Right.
Without saying
Cheaper.
that, but cheaper.
Yeah.
But keep the older one for the reality show because we already started that. So
Right.
So nothing is done with intention, or thought, and that's just true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except the creative people, hopefully the good ones, give some thought
Right.
and right and intention behind what they're doing. Second season is premium cable, and they're only doing 13 episodes. It's not no more 22 episode comedies. They're half hours and
Dramedies.
no jokes in them, but they're comedic premises.
Yeah.
And I'm not making fun of that. I've enjoyed it. And by the way, okay, Comeback was too. But the number of writers you need has now been halved. If you had 12, 15 in a writer's room for 22 episodes a year, it's now you need 6.
Or in the second season, it was 1, and that was the beginning of
Right.
what now is very common,
The
the
auteur.
auteur who does one episode, one writer for all this.
For all, got it.
We're
Got it.
predicting it. And
Right.
that-
So now we're 10 years later.
I said you were clairvoyant in the writing.
Yeah.
And AI is in
Yeah.
this replacing writers, and
Yeah.
you really only need one to
Yeah.
put their name on the script, if that's the scenario.
Right.
To
Yeah.
calm everybody down. It's all about anxiety.
Dan, let me just get you before we go to our last segment
I
about
talk a lot. I
no,
told you you'd need editing.
No.
I'm
please.
right.
Ask me if we edited it or not.
You're a delight.
I'm just curious about the original question regarding if the anxieties that you all were capturing in the production and creation of this show were things that you felt personally as someone in the industry as the show was being produced and airing.
I mean, again, I was reading the scripts as they completed them. So to me, it was very, and people have reflected this back to me. It's
Yeah.
as though when the show is airing, it's almost as though it was written that day. It's extremely right now. There's an enormous amount of anxiety about where do we go from here?
Yeah.
And will there be work for people?
Yeah.
These are questions that have been asked, I'm sure, since the Industrial Revolution. That we have go through things that question our value, and artists questioning their value is since the beginning of time. So yes,
Yeah.
yes, the
Yes,
answer is
yes,
yes. There's
yes.
anxiety, and from anxiety grows what? You either lay down or you find a way to let some piece of grass through the sidewalk start to grow,
bloom.
and so I kind of think the anxiety is necessary, and the resistance is necessary for us to get stronger.
And as we're ramping up to the finale,
Yeah.
I'm noticing the feedback I'm getting is more anxious.
yeah.
Like, how are you going to end this?
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to let us out of this?
Well, it seems like maybe those who are saying that are less comfortable with the endings than it seemed like all of you, not Dan, but at least the two of you have become, just being in the business for a long time.
I think they're nervous about what is it that you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. Well, because the question is that it feels existential. The topic feels,
Right.
and in some
Yeah.
ways it might be. And so to grapple with it and play with it and play in it,
Yeah.
it does have the quote unquote risk of people looking to the show as sort of a North Star for how the next 5-10 years might go, because we have this predictability that you all
Right.
have been able to create over the
Yeah.
last 20
And,
years.
and on top of that, please don't end Valerie badly.
Yeah.
We've invested 21 years.
Oh, you
Yeah.
think that's part of it too?
Oh,
yeah.
God, yes.
Oh,
How is Valerie going to, basically, is Valerie going to have a happy ending?
Yeah.
Is the
And is it
question.
really the end? And they keep saying like, well, yeah, you keep saying that,
Yeah.
but you'll
And
be
then
you'll be
something
back,
comes up,
right?
something
There's an
comes up,
anxiety
right.
about that too.
Yeah.
But more than one thing can be true at the same time, and I think
Absolutely.
that is a very hard thing for people. They're like, please tell us that the show is saying a thing that's going to be the answer for us, and the answer is that more than one thing can exist at the same time.
Yeah. I have to say, before we go into our little fun segments, as we wrap up this part of our conversation, it was so timely. This morning, as I was getting ready, I was in the house and I put my finger on a book that I've had for a couple of years. And it's a book written by a very close colleague of mine at Yale, who is an organizational psychologist. His name is David Berg. And the title of his book just seemed to me so resonant with what I hoped our conversation would be, which it was.
Oh.
And the book is Human Collaboration at Work, Challenge and Potential in Creative Relationships.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Well, you very, very showrunnery curated the thing right around that. Good for you.
Well, it's what I
We
thought
didn't even see it coming. You're like a mentalist.
I just read the room and just go where you all lead me. But it's been so fun talking to you all. But before we finish, we have a couple of things we're going to do. So
Eat
our
a cookie?
There's a cookie over there for you.
Yeah.
Do you have one behind here too, or no?
No.
Okay. Well, we can get one. We can
I'll
get you
wait.
one. So we only have a few minutes left because I know you have to rest before your next obligation. But I have.
We have to rest.
Well,
I
do.
do.
We have to
See,
rest.
Thank you.
Exactly.
You don't.
See,
I do.
one of you do. Yeah.
I do.
Lisa's been on a press tour. Lisa's been everywhere.
She's been everywhere. She ordered coffee at like
Yes.
11:45 because she knew she had a long day.
She needs to rest 5 minutes ago.
So we're gonna short circuit this activity, but there are cards behind me. I'm gonna give. She's laughing. She can't listen. Look at her.
You know, here
She
now
can't
that
even get it
Living, I'm going to let
together.
you guys rest, and it's sort of like, they're so old.
No, I didn't
better-
say
actually,
that.
I need to let
A
them
hit,
rest.
a hit
Lisa,
dog. A hit dog.
don't
will
worry
holler.
about
I didn't
rushing
say
Lisa.
that.
Once Lisa tells you what she needs, you can work her for another 10 hours.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go get a cookie.
Yeah, go
I
get
think that's-
go get a cookie. Yeah, please.
She needs this a cookie. Lisa wants
Get the
Lisa
cookie.
wants to accept all
But
cookies.
you can hear me, so I'm gonna talk about the activity while you're getting the cookie. Okay.
It's very spontaneous of Lisa to go away.
This is the best thing I want. This is the best thing ever. I love.
Oh,
this.
he needs a cookie too. It's just
No,
He
He's
needs a
getting a
water.
water.
He needs a water.
no, I don't need anything.
There's a okay.
I'm very, very focused on the hosts.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you. So on one of these cards is a joke that one of our student interns put together.
Yeah, you are.
I don't
You're
know if they
just-
can hear you though because you're so far from the microphone.
Yeah, you're
Bring in the world's loudest cookie bag for Lisa to play
Lisa,
with.
you're fine.
What kind of cookie is it? Since you did all that to get the cookie, what kind of cookie is it?
It's her chocolate
Oh,
chip, which is her
perfect.
favorite.
Perfect.
Did you want me to bring you?
No.
Okay.
I don't eat sugar. I don't eat sugar. I think
I don't eat
forgot
sugar
you
either.
told me
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I don't eat sugar.
And I know.
I don't eat sugar either.
So on one of these cards is
I
a
resent people
joke.
that do. During podcasts. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just eat the whole thing at once.
Well, I
she
don't
won't do that. She's
Okay.
a lady.
Okay, she's a
No.
lady. Okay.
Okay.
You have crumbs. Look at this. The set's all dirty.
There's a joke.
Mice come here. There's a joke, and I'm gonna give one of you the card to read the joke, and then someone else has to improve the joke.
Oh, it's a rewrite.
Yeah.
That's rewrite.
I don't know these terms. I'm not in the world.
You're asking
Punch
us
up.
to do a
You're
punch
asking
up.
us to do a punch up.
It's
I
a punch
am.
up.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
All
Thank
right,
you
I'll
for
read
educating
it.
me.
Let someone else go.
Okay, I'm
Michael
gonna
will
I'm
punch
gonna
it
let
up.
you choose of these three. We're only doing one, so the stakes are kind of high. So choose.
Oh, damn. She chose
I
that
am.
one.
I love this part.
We can
my
do two. We
job.
can do two then. We can do two.
I love this part of my job. We'll see.
What am I reading?
Just read
What's
the
on
joke.
the paper?
thing.
Read the
It's a
joke.
joke.
Oh, and
Lee.
it's a joke, and then they're gonna.
And then we're gonna
We're gonna
punch it up.
improve it.
Okay, great. Okay.
Danny's punch up too.
Poughkeepsie has everything you need. It just closes at 6. That's how you read a joke.
Poughkeepsie has everything you need, unless you need a lot of things.
Poughkeepsie has everything you need unless you need anything.
I love these punch-ups. Let me just say that Poughkeepsie is a hidden gem.
Oh,
Yes,
sure.
For
of
those
course.
listening,
It's just a
who are-
joke.
Punch up
It's
a
just
joke.
a- it's
I'm
just a
sorry.
joke.
Wes,
No.
are you aware that a joke? You thought it was going to get kinder?
No, I didn't think that, but I don't want it stated that no one defended
Look,
Poughkeepsie on
we're
the air with
defending
Vassar
Poughkeepsie.
Kids.
People of Poughkeepsie, let me say this very clear. Our assignment from Vassar
From
was
West.
to make a joke funnier. The only way you can make a joke funnier is to make it meaner.
Let's do another one.
100%. 100%.
I love it. Listen, it's all love here.
It's so
Perfect.
funny.
We actually had a real moment
it
where we
was
were
a-
thinking.
I know, of course.
I
It
love
was
it.
it was
No,
a
I'll read it.
Poughkeepsie
You have to
bashing
punch it
joke.
up. I'll read it. You have to
All right.
punch it up.
All right.
Okay,
I
ready?
could have punched up that one just because I read
Do you have
Of
one?
course you
No.
could.
Do you want to punch it up in hindsight?
No,
Do
not
you-
now,
retro-
not
don't-
anymore.
Now that we're
Because
protecting,
I'm so sensitive.
now that
yeah.
we're PPing, protecting Poughkeepsieing. Go ahead.
PP. T-shirts. I'm
Yes,
getting
I
T-shirts.
do have one.
Yeah.
Poughkeepsie has everything you need. If what you need is Vassar related.
Thank you, my
that,
love.
And you know
That's
that
good.
would kill because why?
We're at
Specific to the crowd.
Yes.
Thank you, my love.
When a professor says, any questions, it usually means they don't want any.
When a professor says any questions, it means they're thinking about the Nicorette in their pocket. I know. When a professor says, so that's all the questions, no more questions, they're thinking about the Nicorette in their pocket. That's a specific reference. That's why it's almost funny.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm not good at jokes. But this
Disclaimer.
is what I would. Yeah, it is.
Bullshit
it's a
disclaimer.
It's not. Wait.
Read the joke again.
I
set
know
up.
what I.
When a
wanna say,
professor
but-
says any questions, it usually means they don't want any.
When a professor says any questions, it usually means because I need a transition to turn it into the thing I really want to talk about.
It's true,
It's not funny
but it's probably true.
thing. But
When a
that-
professor says any questions, it usually means they want someone to ask if they've lost weight.
No.
I feel like now. See, this is
joke.
perfect, Wes, because we would be on this.
Yeah, we
We
would.
didn't hit
Forever.
We would not be
We
satisfied.
got the
Would never
first
be
one
done.
like that.
But you
we
didn't
wouldn't
land
move
the
on
thing
in the
yet.
writing room.
There's
We'd
no
keep
new
going.
season yet. This
And
is
then
not-
we'd
yeah.
wonder, is the setup wrong?
Yeah, it's the
What is
setup.
we need? What do we need? I mean, it would be, but it's very interesting to. I'm still thinking about why I bombed my response and how I would fix it.
Oh,
When a
I
professor
don't
says any
take it
questions,
personally, but-
they really mean. And here is where AI will never win. Because AI could give you 14 things. What I was sitting here waiting to do was the thing that I don't even know I'm going to think.
Right.
And that what I would usually, Lisa in the writing room, I would see a look on her face before she said the words, and I would start
You took
laughing
it. Yeah.
because I knew I could bet on that surprise in her before
Yeah.
she talked. AI will give you 75 versions of this.
Yeah.
But, it
not gonna
probably
be-
won't give you the pause that you need
Yeah.
to surprise yourself out of their own disgust that
Yeah.
you couldn't come up with something and then you force yourself.
But the great thing about being in a room, talk about collaboration again,
Right.
is there's a thing that happens when someone gets into a joke area
Yeah,
that
joke
you know
area.
is right. When a professor says any questions, they're probably already in their car. So, so there's all right.
Yeah,
but
you're
now we're in an
warming up.
area.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
means
No,
like,
you,
oh, they've
you have
already
a
in their
playground,
house.
You like this
But he
playground.
removed
a piece.
a
Yes.
piece,
Right.
which was in the way. They're really thinking,
it usually
which is almost
means-
like a tripping on a rug.
Yeah. It's
Right.
not. It's
in the
not
way.
smooth. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I got
each
it.
one would
It's
lead
so
the
much
next.
fun.
It's so much fun.
I love this.
To be in a room with people that are trying to make a joke work. And one of the things as showrunner, which I've done for many, many years,
Yeah.
is you're a good showrunner if when somebody in the room says a joke and everybody laughs, you leave it alone. You don't then
You don't keep tinkering with
change
it.
around the
Yeah.
wording
Yeah.
to be the way you would have thought.
Right, you just.
It already
you-
is
you-
done.
You hit it.
Yeah, but the let's beat it becomes a thing that gets said. Let's
That's
try to
it.
beat it.
Literally,
Let's try to
let's
beat
beat
this.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Let's beat
it's
it.
to me, it's funny because it always feels like the double meaning is so ironic.
Yes.
Let's beat it, meaning let's get a better joke in there.
Right.
But
Well,
usually
also,
you
let's
beat
beat
it
it to death.
the shit out
Yes,
of it to
100%.
make it
Until it's not funny.
right.
So that was very fun. Thank you all for.
It was a
participating.
blast.
I
Thank you.
love that you all
Thank
loved
you to
that.
our participants.
Thank
and
you,
again,
Vassar.
sorry, Poughkeepsie.
But insert, you could put it. We could have put
could put
fish kill in
anywhere,
there, and it
yes.
would have been fine.
Our
better
last
joke
segment
Fish kill's funnier.
is our Salt Line Show and Tell.
Right.
And I only think one person really
Did
came
it, the
prepared for the
assignment.
assignment, and I think that's you.
No, it's
Oh,
Michael
it's
has
me.
a
Michael.
picture
You
of
Lisa
two
would never
things.
prepare.
Oh, but you have a thought about
She
what
has
it
a
was.
thought,
Yeah.
but it's not a picture.
Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm curious what your picture is of your two items that signify your salt lines.
I have two items. This is on a desk in my office,
Yeah.
and it's in a lucite frame that I can only see. We see both things at once, and this is from 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's a photograph of Lisa from an Entertainment Weekly article as Valerie back in 2005 that I cut out, and I put it on a photograph of a theater space that I owned in LA called Arcade. And both things are together because they represent sublime creativity to me and an ideal. And that was there for 21 years. And when I didn't know she was coming back, I still had her on in my vision of creativity. But that's right there. That's a picture.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lisa, I know you have thought about what your two items would be.
Well, this is like I don't know if it's a cheat, but it's not two items. It's infinite. Because what I was going to say is, my item is me. I am the salt line. We all are the salt line.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
That we are each, unique biosystem. And I don't know, every iteration of us throughout our development is a meeting point between, never mind, I'm done.
You, I mean, that, my item is me,
Well,
is the most moving
self-centered.
thing.
No, it's not. It's
no,
not
it's not.
self-centered.
My
It's
item is
profound.
me. And then you brought in your biology degree as
Right.
well, so I was
Well,
impressed.
Well, it said biosystem.
You said
That's what-
biosystem. I
something
had the same
about
thought.
I did too. Her interests.
Right. No, I didn't see it as egotistical at all. I know it.
I did.
I
I
know
thought it was really special.
Right.
I think we can all learn from that. No joke.
Okay.
Sorry,
it's
Poughkeepsie,
true.
no joke.
Dan,
But that's all part of the, like, sorry, but
are those crumbs from the cookie?
maybe.
No, it was some some sort of biosystem. I think it just came out of her.
I interpreted it so much like the difference, the meeting point of salt water and fresh water,
Right.
of like something salty and something sweet, something refreshing and
Yeah,
something
tell us.
that is harder.
Okay.
Harder, resistance and failure, and
Yeah.
how wins only come after you've. The importance of failure in success is what I thought about. I kept thinking about objects in my house that would reflect a win that came after a fall,
failure, yeah.
and I couldn't quite find the thing
Right,
that
right.
represented that. But to me, the things that are the most profound are the things that, when they occurred, when the salt water hit my face, I thought it was over, stinging and pain, and this is how it will be forever. And the notion that, no, this is just a point where, when you meet the fresh water, you will see that it was just carrying you towards the next fresh water. Like it changes the way you view, the ebb and flow, I think, which maybe is in concert with what Lisa was saying, which is that
biosystem.
I am saying it's a universal truth.
Yeah.
That you can. Oh, I don't know. It's an affirmation, a salt line. I mean, you should look at every problem in your life as a salt line.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because there's two things coming together, and it's going to make something unique that could not have existed if
Without
these
those two
things didn't
things.
happen.
Absolutely.
So I don't.
Well, you all have been fabulous, I have to say. It was our first time having 3 guests.
Yeah, you did. You
did
are
great.
great.
You know-
I
you
mean,
know-
we'll
Great.
see how the editing.
Literally in
works out.
improv, which we've all done, 3 people scenes are notoriously
But
hard.
maybe it's a 4-person.
Well, obviously because he drove it.
Yeah.
He drove the
Oh yeah,
car.
you were the director of the 3-person scene.
Well, you all are just very kind to say that, but it was so fun being here with you all. I was thinking beforehand how I would sort of not wrap it up, but sort of how I would encapsulate you all, besides the title of this book, because that obviously was the perfect title of what you all are, this sort of creative collaborations. But I thought you all are the perfect scandalous group of friends in the city.
Oh, how great.
done.
Very
Oh,
good.
Friends in the city.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
friends in the city.
That was really clever.
I'm happy you like it. Hopefully you're being honest.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
it was
that's
great.
great.
Yes.
Very good.
Love it.
Well, I know you have other places to go and people to talk to, but it was such a pleasure having you. Honestly, it really was. And
Oh, it
thank
was
you
our
all for
pleasure.
being
It was
so
so
fun,
exciting.
so generous, so open and vulnerable, and exploring the salt lines with me, with yourselves,
Yeah.
and with the listeners and viewers. So
Thank you,
always,
Poughkeepsie.
always loved getting to talk to you.
Thank
When I would
you.
come here to visit,
Thank you.
I
It's always fun
loved
seeing
getting
you.
to talk to you.
I love talking to you too, and love meeting the two of
Pleasure.
you.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
You're a delight.
Don't be strangers.
Okay.
And honest.
And thank
And
you
frank.
all for tuning in for another episode of Conversations at the Salt Line. We will talk to you soon. Have a good one.